Hey guys, I'm JustSayori. This is a really quick replay review for JustSayori. He posted on Reddit asking how to hold a very specific type of Terran attack. So we're going to pick up the replay from this point here. He has opened a Gateway Gas Expand into Blink, going to put on some Blink pressure, got a robo behind it, he's got his third base down, natural base is saturated, and he's moving out. So, one thing I gotta say, for Gold League, your opener is actually very good. It's very clean for a Gold League player. You're a little bit late in getting this natural saturated as far as benchmarks. The benchmark for 44 workers is 4 minutes 10. That said, you put a lot of chronos into your blink, which makes up for the absence of the probes. It's great. Now, when you get your third base started, you're moving across the map with your stalkers. Now you're warping in a total of 8, and that's fine. The next warp in needs to be sentries. You can stop at 5 stalkers and pressure with those, and warp in sentries then, but I would stop at 8 stalkers and warp in sentries following that, because you need the energy for Guardian Shield and for force fields, and that's going to be important when the fight actually happens. Now behind the blink, you want to go in the charge, getting your observers out, getting your double forge, and here comes the double forge, and then here's the next thing, is getting these gateways out. Now, I would say, personally, what I do anyway, is after I get my saturation finished here, I actually don't take this gas immediately. I'll get my saturation and my natural, take this, whenever I get through saturating the minerals, I'll start my gases, double forge, and then while all this is going on, I'm not probing. Like, I stop probing when I'm full 2 base saturation, and build gateways. I go up to 8. I'll build 5 additional gateways. So I have 2 base saturation able to work for me in making units. Because if you're being attacked and you didn't see it move out, if your observer was late to the party and didn't see the army, you need to have army on command. That's personal preference. You don't necessarily have to get your gateways at the same time. I've just found that I can hold a lot of stem timings off the 3 barracks if I have the extra production in time. So moving across the map, you didn't really find the damage, took a stalker hit. But what's really concerning to me is you just keep making stalkers. Now this is a composition issue and maybe a little bit of misinformation. Stalkers are really good, but they're still really bad versus siege tanks and marauders. Eventually Terran will make marauders. You already know this Terran is making siege tanks because you've taken a couple very unfortunate hits. This observer will get across the map and scout, eventually, how many siege tanks he has, and he's just continuing to make them. One thing I would say about your observer is the first observer you make, rally it to about here. The advantage of this is you'll see his army, and then you can poke into his main base and see, is he getting a 3rd CC, or is he building additional barracks? If you see 3 barracks like this, you know that he is gearing up for an attack most of the time. A lot of times there will be a 3rd CC start after this, but you see he's already building tanks, he's building marines. And if you see these 2 tech labs here, and you only saw marines, you didn't see any marauders, then you know he's getting his stem and his combat shield. If you see, I'm going to show you real quick what it looks like when a tech lab is researching. So you see right here, when he starts researching, they're going to start doing stuff. See, they're kind of pulsing it a little bit right now at 2x speed. But you see that little particle effect? And see how it starts rotating, and you see the end is green instead of yellow. And then there's that one. So you see both of these are researching now. So that's how you know that he's getting both of his upgrades. So based on that, you know, okay, he's gearing up for an attack. So you can start building army. Start building. After you finish your immortal count, you want to start your immortal production. You need to get your double upgrades going, which you are. Charge is only just starting. I would start charge as soon as Blink finishes, personally, because charge lots are so good. And you're afraid of being attacked right now, so you have made a whole bunch of stalkers, which really are not going to help you all that much in the main fight. So no sentries, no charge lots, and it's just not a very siege tank killing army right now. You can make stuff work if you're in the middle of the map with your stalkers and you catch this move out. Say your stalkers are hanging out right here. then when you see him move out, you can actually grab the faster you moving units, which, by the way, are medevacs. So you pick off a medevac and you blink back when he stims, and it's going to force him to siege. You can buy a lot of time doing that. That's how I do it. Now, for the lower leaguer special of I don't have the control to macro and micro at the same time, as a full disclosure, in Diamond 2, I don't either sometimes. You're going to be wanting to just pump charge lots. You need to have some sentries for Guardian Shield, pumping Immortals, pumping charge lots. Sort of what you're doing, but you don't have any sentries for Guardian Shield. And Guardian Shield is huge when you're fighting into stemmed bio and siege tanks. See how these medevacs are leading the charge. That's what I was talking about, having your Stalkers here. As it is right now, 8 Stalkers will one-shot a medevac, so if you grab that, by the time you kill the first one, he may or may not respond. You might can get a second one before you have to blink back and away. And it's going to force him to stem, because you're going to want to chase your army down. So you blink back and you run back home. And so his medevacs have to heal his army. So you just do little stuff like that if you can, because the idea is to continue to warp in more charge lots. You need as many units as you possibly can in order to hold this. The next thing is you actually have an observer following his army. So you see it coming. You see it exactly where it's coming. So that gives you a really good opportunity to pre-split. You don't have time to build a shield battery. I mean, I know you're doing it and building it's fine. But what you want to do is you want to bring your army out, basically in a straight line, as much as you can, to form a concave so that your army can all attack at once. What happens is he gets over here, all the way up to your natural, and he sieges. And only part of your army engages. And so these units back here still can't really engage. And then you're taking a whole bunch of siege tank fire and a bunch of fire from the stem bio, and you're taking 3 damage because your whole army couldn't attack. If you're going to push into this kind of army, you basically have to commit. You can use your stalkers to try to snipe some units off here and there, but if the siege tanks have already sieged, it's extremely difficult to break. So what you do is you pull back here and just kind of like hide in this corner. Make him stem after you. You can hit your H key, which is your hold position. Then whoop and charge lots over here. The idea is these siege tanks are kind of left alone. So what happens is if you attack, just like grab a whole warp in. Let's see, how many gateways do you have right now? You're on 9 warp gates. So you warp in 9 zealots right here and box them, and just right click them over to here. So what's going to happen is you're going to attack command those toward these siege tanks, and as soon as those charge lots get up this ramp and start taking the siege tank fire, they're going to jump on top of these tanks, and that's when you grab the rest of your army and A click from this direction, and it's going to sandwich his army, and it's going to smash it because he can't kite against you. The siege tank AI is completely messed up. These siege tanks are actually going to shoot the zealots that are attacking this siege tank. So the tanks are actually going to friendly fire themselves down. So you're going to be able to do a lot of damage with his siege tanks and push him back, even if you have a really high stalker count. But the idea is to just buy time while you're whipping more units in. Because you're whipping in stalkers, and as you saw earlier, stalkers don't like siege tanks. You just kind of attack them and, well, there's no stalkers left. You have to really blink on top of siege tanks to help minimize the amount of damage they can do, and so all your stalkers can focus fire at once. And to be honest, blinking on top of siege tanks is doable, but when there are 5 of them, I really don't recommend it. But anyway, I do hope that helps. It is a very in-depth guide, which more or less boils down to attack him in more than one place at once, build sentries for Guardian Shield, and attack him all at once. Don't let your army just feed into him. Hopefully that does help. Have a great one.